Hello, everybody, and welcome to what was a Shot of Wrestling. I am still your host at Michael J. Puddy, and it's been a while, folks. You've been missed. Last time we did a Shot of Wrestling was October of last year. The past 12 months, we've had hosted a Shot of BCW as the official podcast of Brii Combination Wrestling, B-R-I-I. Combination Wrestling, with the esteemed governor, Mr. A.J. Pan, which has been fun, but hasn't been a Shot of Wrestling. The last episode of A Shot of Wrestling, coincidentally, aired October 3rd, 2024. I am recording this October 3rd, 2025, so it has been exactly a year since a Shot of Wrestling posted anything show-wise. I knew it was October sometime. I didn't know when. So while getting ready for this, when was it? Thursday, October 3rd, 2024, episode 366. What was happening a year ago? Let's find out. Episode was titled AEW TV Deal? Cody Rhodes' Surprise? Is Shane Elite? Remember that conversation? Ugh. What a week in wrestling. AEW and Warner Brothers agreed to a new TV deal. Is this the right move, or could they have gotten more? Cody teased a big surprise for Bad Blood that could have massive title implications. What could it be? Any chance it doesn't involve The Rock? Carmelo and Andrade go to a 7th match. What's the payoff going to be? Are we getting another heel turn from Kevin Owens? Is CM Punk and Drew McIntyre the rivalry of the year? Yes. We didn't get a chance to do Puddy's that year, but yeah. Was Julia losing to Roxanne the right move? Is Shane McMahon going to AEW? How massive would that be for the business? And what role should he have behind the scenes, if any? That was a year ago, Shane AEW talks. I guess nothing has come from that. But I wanted to know, when we signed off that night, October 3rd, 2024, I had no clue that was going to be the last episode of A Shot of Wrestling for 12 months. How did that show end? So for Marc Schwann, for Just Saying, I've been your host at Michael J. Puddy. Let's go Mets. Oh my God. Bring on the Phillies. Ugh. Y'all remember that? The Mets being the hottest team in baseball? Oh my God, is right. Thankfully, we disposed of the Phillies and took the Dodgers to, I think, Game 7. What a time that was 12 months ago. Welcome up to the Mets since. Oh my God. Well, yeah, that was the last episode of A Shot of Wrestling. 366 episodes over the course, I think it was 9 years. What a fantastic ride. A friend of mine, I'm sure I told this story numerous times. A friend of mine likes to poke at the bear of another friend of mine just to get a reaction out of him. At one point, they decided, I wish we had a radio show just to get your reactions. So I suggested, why not do a podcast? 2012. 13 years ago. Back when not everybody had a podcast. It was a niche thing. These guys would be great together. I'll help produce it. No, but they brought me on as an on-screen character. As part of the co-host, I should say. Slim Shepard Experience. Some episodes are still available on YouTube. Go check them out. Actually, don't. It was in the infancy of Michael J. Puddy as a podcast host, I should say. That lasted, I think, a little over 2 years. Both my co-hosts got new jobs. At the same time, they had a second child. So, of course, they couldn't dedicate a week to coming into the Omega Studios to record a podcast every Friday night. So that podcast dissolved. Now here I am with the equipment still in my apartment. So in 2015, I decided to start my own because I missed it. I missed expressing my opinions, expressing myself, that creative outlet. So Puddy's podcast was launched in the summer of 2015, which was a great time to do a podcast. We had the Hulk Hogan scandal, the Confederate flag scandal, I believe it was in South Carolina, and a certain reality TV star decided to launch a campaign for President of the United States. A friend of mine became our political correspondent and kept tabs on that race. Friday nights, I'm tired. It's been a long week. It was hard to maintain because I'm sitting here talking to myself. So I just let it go. And then in 2016, Green Man and I were hanging out in my apartment, talking about wrestling and drinking. And he brought it up. Hey, do you still have the equipment? Since we drink and talk about wrestling all the time anyway, why don't we do a podcast together? Light bulb went off. Boom, let's do this. So we record a pilot episode. I think it was Break the Walls Down. I forgot what we called it. And we did an episode. It was fine. Just us drinking, getting drunk, rambling on. No format, no structure, no nothing. And that led to, a couple weeks later, a Shot of Wrestling was born. Green Man held on for 100 episodes. 101, he stepped away because he had a child. If you're going to step away from a podcast, I guess that's a good reason. So for the next several months, if not, a year or something, your boy Green Man invited random strangers to my apartment. Yeah. Imagine how I felt. But it did start fun. Episode 101, we had our very first female co-host join us in studio. And then from there on out, it was just either me doing it by myself somehow, with the help of Mike the bartender downstairs, in the before times, the good old days before any global pandemic hit us. Then eventually, I was asked to include the manager of the then called Satsujan Squad, Marcus Davenport Schwann III. All right, so another stranger is coming to my house. This time, thankfully, I knew who he was at least. Hanging out at the bar at Brii Combination Wrestling, BRII Combination Wrestling. So he came over. We kind of hit it off right away. He did the next episode. And I stopped inviting him onto the show because he became a part of the family and a part of the show. And that led for the next several years of a Shot of Wrestling. Marcus got married here on the show. He had a child here on the show. Then eventually work, family, just caught up with him. He didn't have time to devote to this show on a weekly basis. He too left. In October, I just didn't have the energy to look for a new co-host. I didn't have the energy to invite random strangers to my house. I didn't have the energy to Zoom with random strangers or try to find somebody, a friend of mine, to do the show, to give up their Friday nights to do the show. So I said I'll take some time off. It could be good for me. I was in a relationship at the time. Started seeing somebody in June of 2024. Things started picking up around that time, and I was in a fully committed adult serious relationship in October of 2024. So I said, hey, I'll spend my Friday nights, I'll spend my Saturday nights hanging out with this beautiful woman, having fun, hanging out as a couple should, and then I'll get back to the podcast. But again, I didn't feel like asking or begging anybody to do the show with me, and the format at that time wasn't conducive to do a one-man show. So yeah, that brief hiatus lasted 12 months, which is just a month shorter than my relationship lasted. Started in June 2024, and July of 2025, she blindsided me, broke my heart, ended things. The last 2 months, it was been, okay. But I miss that creative outlet. I miss that voice. I miss that vehicle to be Michael J. Puddy. I've had podcasts since 2012, Shot of Wrestling since 2016. And when that ended, I was in a relationship. I had a creative outlet to do things. If I wanted to express certain ways or do fun things or develop characters or jokes or whatever it involves in relationships, I had an outlet to do that. And now I don't. So I'm like, time to dust off this equipment. It's been exactly 12 months. So this is what brings me here tonight. Let's relaunch Puddy's podcast. We did a Slim Chef experience, again, available on YouTube. And everybody wanted to be a part of it. We had friends who wanted to listen to it, friends who wanted to come on to express their own personal opinions. Those friends went away when we pigeonholed ourselves talking about just professional wrestling because they weren't wrestling fans. Although they went away, a Shot of Wrestling allowed us to embrace and meet a lot of new friends, a lot of new family members to this day. But again, it goes back to me having to look for somebody to co-host on a weekly basis about professional wrestling, especially since it's so saturated. There's shows every day of the week, and it's just a lot. So I decided to, again, talking to Green Man, talking to Marc asked, Shot of Wrestling probably will come to an end. It's sad to say that. It's sad to say it out loud here, but it's probably coming to an end. Talk to both of them again, and they will probably, we'll all reunite sometime to give a Shot of Wrestling a formal goodbye. Talk about the memories of the last 9 years. We're still in the discussion stage, but stay tuned for that. That will happen. I think it deserves to happen. It needs to happen. But until then, I think I'm going to do this. But I just don't want me talking. I don't just want you listening. I want you to get involved in the conversation, be a part of the show, much like we did with the Shot of Wrestling. We made friends, we made family members. So, again, this is still the infancy. This is still the pilot, I guess. So I haven't fully fleshed it out. I was just at work today. I'm like, let's do this. I thought about it a couple weeks ago. Today, I'm like, let's do this. Let's get going. I'll talk about that breakup I had a couple months ago, which left me kind of rocked. A lot of things also are affecting me. Life, family aren't that great. Job isn't that great. So something I've been thinking about for quite some time now. In the 4 times. I think it was around 2016, 2017, maybe 18 the latest. I thought about going into therapy. Everybody I talk to loves therapy. It's, hey, let me try it. But, procrastination, things get in the way, you forget about it, whatever. So years ago, again, the before times, I found somebody I wanted to go see. She just seemed to specialize in everything I needed. I'm like, all right. But then I never pulled the trigger. I just was so preoccupied with how much it's going to cost me instead of benefiting me. So some time went by, and I decided to pull the trigger, and I went to go see her again, and she wasn't listed anymore. She was gone. So that was my excuse to, all right, this ain't for me for some stupid reason. And the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking about it, and I'm not one to be on like FaceTiming or do video chats. In the last couple of years on the Shot of Wrestling, Marc decided to record the Zoom meetings and post clips, which I'd never felt comfortable with. I'm always felt awkward. So I always wanted to see somebody in person. And that's hard to find these days, surprisingly. So I decided to suck it up and decided to go join an app, video chat, because it was free. My insurance covered everything. I didn't pay nothing. And it was awkward. It was uncomfortable. I didn't enjoy it. I'm going to stick with it. Of course, you have to give it a couple more chances, see if it sticks, see if it lands. But we'll see how it goes. Again, everybody I know speaks highly of it, and everyone I know also says it may be uncomfortable at first, but stick with it. So, also my phone, it's been acting up for quite some time now. I'm not somebody who gets new phones whenever the new one comes out, because why waste that money? Phones are like Madden. They're the same stuff, slightly altered. But my phone now is being really frustrating with the charging port. You plug it in, doesn't take. Flip it over, doesn't take. And so you got to, like Houdini, the charging to right angle, right spot until that battery icon goes green. Boom. Step away, leave it alone. There's 2 words called retail therapy. So I got some AirPods Pro 3 that translate languages for you. I'm excited about that. I got the new phone, the iPhone 17. I needed one. I had the iPhone 11. I got that in 2019, 2020. I was due. So I went to go order the silver one. I won't get that till November, so I canceled that. Then I went back a couple days later. I wanted to get the blue one. Won't get that till November. So now I'm really frustrated with my phone. I decided to go back, pull the trigger. Let me get a new phone. I'll wait. Orange one, I can get next week. What? No one wants an orange phone? The day of cases where no one sees what color your phone is anyway? Got it. Boom. Love it. It's great. It's awesome. Again, no fucking difference. No difference from any other iPhone except Apple Intelligence, which is awesome. Here, I haven't used it yet. Again, I got it yesterday. The AirPods are cool. I tried the translations. It works. It's interesting. So don't know when or how often I'll be in a situation where AirPods will be in my ear and I'll need the translations, but I guess it's good to know I have it. But yeah, so let's move on. That's the recap of where we at with a shot of wrestling and Puddy and Marc and Green Man. You can still listen to a shot of BCW here with the esteemed, prestigious Governor and Victor at the Grand Rumble, a tribute to Mama Penn. Stay tuned in the coming, literally, weeks. He'll be on to discuss that event, his victory, and preview Nightmare at the Mecca, October 30th, Thursday, Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. So stay tuned for a shot of BCW coming up on this very feed. This show is not just me blabbing on about myself and my life. We're going to talk about what's going on in the world as well, wrestling included. But right now, the biggest story is the government has shut down. The shutdown happened because Republicans and Democrats could not come together to pass a funding bill. So, government shut down. And everyone wants to point fingers. The Republicans control the White House, as we know, and the Senate, and the House. But in the Senate, they're short of the 60 votes needed to pass a spending bill, which give Democrats some sort of negotiating power. They want to see an extension of the expiring tax credits, which makes health care cheaper for millions of Americans, and a reversal of Trump's cuts to Medicaid and Medicare, used by millions of elderly and disabled and low-income people. My mother's on Medicare. And Democrats also oppose spending cuts to a lot of government health agencies. If no matter where on the spectrum of political opinions you are, they're cutting government health agencies. Whether you agree with it or not, that's what's going on. Yeah, so everyone's blaming the Democrats. A wise man once said, air quotes, that if a government shut down, it's solely the responsibility of the president. He is the leader of the country. He's the leader of the government. He's the leader of the free world. If the government shuts down, it falls at his feet. He needs to do something. He needs to be a leader. He needs to negotiate. He needs to step up, be a man. Unfortunately, this case is not a woman. And that quote came from Donald Trump in 2012 or 2013 regarding Obama, of course. But now he's saying it's the Democrats' fault. It's just how it's always a pointing finger game. If I make a mistake, if I do something wrong, I'll own up to it and admit it. But everyone has to point fingers. Either side. Y'all need to come together and get this shit done. Without throwing millions of people off of healthcare. So my opinion is, we just need, who cares what's in a name? Just rename Obamacare Trump Care. Let him get the credit. That's the only reason he wants to cancel it in the first place, because the black man said it. Just cancel it. Not cancel it. Just rename it. Make it called Trump Care. And this will be a non-issue going forward. Just rename it Trump Care, please. And today, October 3rd, the other breaking news was Diddy got sentenced. I know his team was looking for a 14-month sentence, which would equate to basically time served. Prosecutors wanted 11 years behind bars. But the judge, I guess, kind of met them in the middle and gave him 50 months, which is 4+ years, I think. 4+ years, yeah. The ruling came down. Apparently, he looked emotionless. He looked at the judge, looked down at the floor, then he turned to his family, tapped his heart, looked at his children, looked at his mother and said, I love you, I'm sorry, I'll be okay. Now, I have not been really following this case at all. When he got arrested, I heard about it, of course, and I've been hearing about the case, of course, and the charges, which I never really paid attention to, so I really didn't really care either. Don't sound like a dick, but I didn't really care. So I had no clue what was going on. But he was acquitted of the most serious charges, which could end up making it basically, 20 years, I think it was, per charge, or maybe life in prison. I don't remember. Again, I don't want to ramble on, but yeah, so he's getting 4+ years with credit time served. So he might be out in 2 something, maybe 3 years. Although his attorneys are saying they have a strong basis for appeal because the judge described it as or something that was unconstitutional. Of course it was. Y'all's client avoided life in prison. Y'all's client avoided 11 years in jail. I think you guys won here. But yeah, appeal. Good luck. See what happens. Again, I don't know this case. I haven't been following it. Good luck. But I was wondering. He came to New York to voluntarily surrender himself to law enforcement on these charges, which I assume means that he thought he was just going to turn himself in and get booked and walk away on bail or whatever. The fact that he didn't, he's been in jail since, September of last year? And this guy was one of the most powerful men in the industry, if not the world. Very influential, multi-millionaire. And have that all taken away from you when you weren't expecting it to be taken away from you. I can't imagine that adjustment. Again, I never want to be in prison. I can't imagine myself being in prison. I am such a square when it comes to that stuff. I never want to get involved in that stuff. But somebody asked on TV, I think it was today, can he recover from this? His image has been tarnished. P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, that name no longer carries that power, that influence anymore because now we see him for who he is. Is his career over? Is his livelihood over? But a commentator made a good point. I forgot what channel it was. Chris Brown selling out stadiums. Before the breakup, my ex-girlfriend was talking about how she was excited to go see Chris Brown at MetLife. Her and her friends were all excited about seeing Chris Brown. A man who brutally beat a woman. He didn't get angry in the heat of the moment, slap her. He didn't get angry in the heat of the moment and punch her in the face. He brutally, viciously attacked her nonstop. But yeah, here he is. Selling out stadiums and world tours, and women are fawning over him and loving him. Yeah, I think P. Diddy will be fine. I think Diddy will come back. He'll probably have a redemption tour, an apology tour. Definitely books coming. Definitely a book's coming. If not a Netflix special like they did with Charlie Sheen. I'm pretty sure Diddy will be fine. But yeah, I think that was all the major news of this week. Sports real quick. The WNBA Finals started tonight, October 3rd, with the Las Vegas Aces winning Game 1 in a nail-biter. Y'all, don't sleep on the WNBA, especially the Finals. Last year, the Liberty and the Lynx went the distance, with each game coming basically down to the wire in a nail-biting fashion. Last couple of years, the WNBA Finals have been must-see TV, and it seems like this year will be no different. So don't sleep on the WNBA. I know there's a lot of shit talk going on right now about it. A lot of pompous, arrogant, sexist assholes look down their nose about it because it's women, but fuck them. Yeah, have fun. I always enjoy watching WNBA. Yeah, sometimes they miss. Sometimes it's air balls. Sometimes there's poor play. Yeah, so in the NBA as well. Air balls and missed opportunities and bogus plays. I've seen men do it many times in the NBA. So if y'all need a staunch WNBA defender, I'm your guy. And of course, that's all I have left because Mets are out, like I mentioned earlier. The Dolphins are the Dolphins. We beat the Jets. I kind of didn't want to beat the Jets. I wanted them to lose that game for a higher draft pick, but I'm happy we won to shut up all my Jet fans friends, who I knew were going to talk smack, but thankfully they were silenced. At what cost? Tyreek Hill's gone. Yeah, it's going to be a long football season. Can't wait for next year. When does football season start in 2026? And also a fan of football in general. Not the NFL. I'm a fan of football. Been a fan of the XFL. Been a fan of the UFL. USFL, now the UFL. And they released a statement today how I think 3-4 teams are being relocated because they're trying to downsize stadiums, which makes sense. The inaugural season of the XFL in 2020, you had a New York team, quote-unquote New York, playing in MetLife. You're playing in MetLife? The St. Louis team were playing the St. Louis Rams old stadium. Y'all ain't going to sell that out. Y'all ain't going to have a massive turnout for these games. And other teams like Birmingham, other teams like Memphis played in a much, much smaller stadium. I think the only real team that has a big crowd is Washington, D.C., and that's because of the beer snake. Look it up. If you know, you know. But I'm looking forward to see what happens in the UFL and what cities they land on. Time's a ticking here. You don't have much time left. So, that's sports. But yeah, this is it. This is the first episode of we're calling the Puddy's podcast. I don't know when the next one will be. Hopefully keep it up, continuing. But it's been fun. It's been cathartic. I'm sure my therapist will be happy to hear that I'm doing this. Again, therapy is awesome, apparently. But that's it. Again, stay tuned to this very feed for not only the next episode of this Puddy's podcast, but a shot of BCW. So until then, follow us on social media. Puddy's podcast on Instagram. You can follow me at Michael J. Puddy on all social media. Or I think it's MJ Puddy on TikTok, but I don't use TikTok. I just signed up for it because people send me stuff on TikTok, and TikTok now, recently, I think last year, doesn't allow you to view TikToks unless you have a TikTok account. And my ex was nice enough to download stuff I could watch them. Of course, she's no longer around, so I decided to suck it up and get a TikTok. I think it's MJ Puddy. Look it up. If you see me, follow. Until next time, though, Puddy out.